All right, guys. So without further ado, we've put together a fantastic tip of the week. I should say David has 5 ways to rocket boost your website speed. So if it's okay with you, may I pass it over, David, and you can take us on this little journey here.
Absolutely. So really excited to dive into this topic. Obviously, it's one that's really popular with a lot of our users and a lot of you joining us today. So we'll talk about some basic information regarding website speed and load times and everything like that before we dive into some of the recent updates that our team has pushed with regard to website load times and page speeds and everything, and then give you some actionable steps that you can take as well on your own Brilliant Directories website. First thing we'll talk about here, why website speed and load times are important. I think obviously most of us know that it's better to have a fast website than a slow website. We experience that every day when we're browsing the web and visiting different websites. It's obviously a lot more enjoyable of an experience when we're on a website that's loading smoothly. It doesn't have to be lightning speed, but at least everything's working well and moving smoothly. On a website like that, visitors will tend to browse more pages if a website is loading relatively quickly compared to a website that's loading slow, maybe taking 10, 15, 20 seconds to load one web page. Typically at that point, the user will just move on to a different website. With that, having a fast website, allowing visitors to browse more pages on your website, it will then in turn allow those visitors to engage with your website more. And especially if you have a membership website, it could certainly encourage them to sign up once they find out some more information about your website. They see the other people who are registered on your website, things like that. So in this case, having a better performing website could increase the chances of you landing a sale. And lastly, website speed is actually good for SEO. Whether it be Google or Bing or any other search engine, they typically do favor more speedy websites over the slower websites. But this is only one factor among literally thousands of factors that they take into consideration when determining search result ranking. But certainly it is one that they take into consideration. And that kind of provides us with a nice segue into the next slide. How much should you actually care about your website speed? And the truth is, you should care about it. It should always be something that might be in the back of your mind. But it's not the only thing you should be thinking about, and it's certainly not something that you should be obsessing over. A fast website that has poor content, it won't be a success. It doesn't matter how fast the website is. At that point, you could spend days and weeks trying to optimize your website to make it as fast as possible. But if you're not paying any attention to the content on your website and the amount of engagement that your visitors are having on your website, then ultimately it won't matter too much at the end of the day. So really keep your website speed in the back of your mind, and we'll talk about some certain things to think about in the upcoming slides here, but don't obsess over it. Let us and our team obsess over the website speed for you. It's something that we're always working on. As Jason mentioned, we've released several new updates recently that have made a big difference in terms of website speed, and we'll touch on those in a couple slides here.
Yeah, I always like to use the analogy, there's restaurants out there, they're hole in the walls, they're grimy, they're dirty, they're grungy, but they have a line out the door because the food is good, the content is good. Then you have fancy schmancy restaurants with nice white tablecloth, but they're empty on a Saturday night, just because the food's not good there, whatever, the service isn't good there. So, speed is kind of like that. The most important thing is how you're continuing to engage with your community. If you have a good relationship and following from your tribe, they'll be forgiving even on your page speed and even other things. You mess up an email newsletter that goes out, things like that. However, you do want your speeds to maintain reasonable KPIs and benchmarks. So if there's something that's obviously slow on your site, definitely let the BD team know. We always want to take a look at it and see how we can improve it. We don't want to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, that was a great analogy. Now, just a couple things to consider with regard to website speed and specifically page load times. Smaller, lighter pages with less elements on them will obviously always load faster and be lighter in size than pages that are larger, have many elements. Think of a web page that has several thousand lines of text, a bunch of very large, super high quality images, as well as maybe some third-party elements. In some cases, you might need to have a web page like that, but always keep in mind a web page like that will certainly load slower than a smaller kind of trimmed down web page. But more importantly, stacking a lot of third-party tools will certainly slow down your website. Typically, these third-party tools that you can embed on your website or on specific pages on your website add heavy resources that end up hogging a lot of your website's bandwidth. So when you're utilizing these third-party tools and determining whether or not you really need them on your website, consider the value versus the speed cost that those resources are providing your users. Because at the end of the day, those are the people who it's going to affect. And also consider when you are using these third-party tools, the embed code that they provide you, does it need to load on all the pages? A lot of these tools tell you to paste the embed code in the website header so that it loads on all the pages. But does it actually need to load on all the pages, or do you just need it to load in certain areas of the website? So be mindful when deciding on that. And then just real quick tip here, some of the top offenders when it comes to these third-party tools that use a lot of resources are Google or any other dynamic display ads. They utilize a lot of tracking resources. Live chat tools use a lot of your website's resources as well. And social networking plugins, whether these be plugins for like Twitter or Facebook, or even just the simple plugins like Share This, which embed share buttons on different content on your website so that users can share that content on different social platforms. Something small like that actually does use a lot of resources. So just some things to be mindful of here.
Yeah, and also a good thing to consider is, all these third-party tools, they're really shiny, they spin and they do cool things when you click on them and they fly across the homepage. Again, being mindful, like instead of throwing the whole enchilada onto your website of every little thing you find around the internet that could be quote unquote cool on your website, think of these third-party plugins, use them more like tapas meals, like small little dishes that you want to serve on specific pages or areas of your website. They can be best enjoyed by your visitors in that manner rather than a pile of, I love nachos, but a pile of nachos for 10 people loading on every single page of your site. It's just, it's a bit much sometimes. But we like the challenge sometimes also. We've had customers share their sites, and we've, just by moving some things around, and keeping the third-party resources that they want or need, because you don't have to get rid of them. You just probably have to load them in the right places of the site. You can have your cake and eat it too. A lot of food analogies today. I guess it's kind of hungry, but you can have your cake and eat it too with those third-party scripts. So with that, we do have some new settings to share with you guys. I would recommend taking advantage of some, if not all, if you can. So I'll run through these. I'll show you where these settings are, how you can enable them. And then lastly, we'll take some Q&A on whatever topics you want. Maybe we could look at your site speed and see if we can implement some of these things for you. So the first thing is BD has subscribed to its own CDN network, a content delivery network, for all of the default resources that need to load on a Brilliant Directories website. It's great for any site, especially if you have international users, and it's just going to load the site for your visitors a lot more efficiently. So let me show you where this first setting is, enable resource delivery. You don't need to do anything but turn it on. So this will be in your advanced settings. Several of these will be in the advanced settings. And what I like to do is just search for optimization in the keyword here. And we have 3 key ones here. It's the first 3 on our checklist. The first one is front-end optimization, enable resource delivery via CDN. You don't need to do anything except turn this on. And what this is going to do is all the default resources that are making your site come alive will come from Brilliant Directories CDN as opposed to loading locally from your domain name, which is not as efficient. So the first thing you can do is search for optimization and turn this one on here. The next one is only load Google Maps when requested. As I mentioned before, Google Maps is kind of the biggest piece of bloatware on sites that have maps and things like that. So we've taken the last couple months actually to really tame the beast of the Google Maps JavaScript and only load the maps when they're requested by the visitor or the page needs them. And that helped tremendously with the scores. This is also something that you don't need to do except toggle the switch. However, there is one caveat. You might have a customize widget that conflicts with this, but we'll show you an alert on what to disable or what to update when you're enabling this setting. So for this one, the Google Maps one, also come to your advanced settings, search for optimization, and it'll be this last one here, only load Google Maps when requested by user. Go ahead and turn that on. If you get an alert saying, oh, this widget is customized, that you need to edit it or disable it first, there'll be some instructions here with an alert. Go ahead and take care of those warnings and then come back and enable this again to save your changes. All right, and this next one is a third-party tool. It's called ImageKit, and they have a free plan with 20 gigabytes per month, which is plenty. And what they're going to do is also serve all the images that load on your site from their CDN network, their content delivery network. Speed tools love this, like Google PageSpeed, GTmetrix, etc. And, you know, we hear this a lot. Oh, we want all the images to be WebP images on our website. It's a new format for images that, again, these speed tools love. ImageKit will automatically convert in real time, dynamically, all the images that are loading on your site in WebP format. And for this, I was going to just quickly set up an account and go through the steps on how to set up an ImageKit account, and then just copy and paste the URL for your own CDN that they provide to you. And then your images will be loading from ImageKit. And actually, let's take 2 steps back. Let us turn off these 2 things, front-end optimization and the Google Maps. And let's take a look at the page speed score on this site that we're playing around with. And also the ImageKit field here is empty as well. So let's go back here. And let's just reload this page. This page, the home page does have some content on it. It has some member images, reviews, a few blog articles here. And let's just do a page speed test here. So this is Google PageSpeed, and I also like to do GTmetrix as well, but we'll do PageSpeed here. And I'll keep this page here, and we'll do all our optimization. That's actually a pretty good score, even with the optimizations turned off. Maybe it's caching it before the settings. But anyways, we'll come back and we'll just check out some of these scores. Again, we've done a lot across the board for the speed with or without these settings. So let's set up an ImageKit account and let's see what it does. The best way to see what it does first is let's inspect this image here. And we can see that it's coming from our website. It's a /, it's coming here, and it's a PNG. And if I download this image, let's save this image. All right, that image is 72 kilobytes, this one here, that got uploaded. So we'll go ahead and enable ImageKit, and then we'll see how big that image is after we do the ImageKit setup. So I was going to set up an ImageKit just with our events at Brilliant Directories account. We have no affiliation with them. We just think they're an awesome tool. There are other tools that do similar things, and you could do a similar setup with some other tools as well. We just found this one to be the easiest one to just plug and play. All right, let's sign up for a free account. Okay, email verification. Perfect. So it's just going to ask me to create like a slug for the URL. That's going to be my ImageKit URL for my images. I could do something SEO friendly if I want. It doesn't really matter. I'll just do webinar demo. And the region where you want your images to be served doesn't matter too much, but like the primary country, you might want to choose something that's slightly closer to the region of the majority of your users. In this case, I'll choose North California because I'm in Los Angeles here. And we'll go next. Okay, so you're going to have 2 options here. They sound confusing. Actually, all you need to really do is click external storage. It's 2 steps now. So we registered a free account. Then I just need to go to external storage and click add new. And I'm going to give it a nickname. This is basically going to be my website here. So I'll do Jason1927. Let's move this over here. That's my nickname. And then you want to select HTTP or HTTPS, basically the URL of your website, the base URL. We're halfway there. And we just pasted that, so that's it. So I did 3 things. I gave it a nickname. I chose web folder HTTPS, whatever that does, and the URL of my website. I'm going to hit Save Changes. Okay, so that's half the step. Now I need to create what's called a URL endpoint. Again, sounds confusing. Don't worry about it. Just click URL endpoint and click Add New. And now I can create another unique identifier. You can do for multiple websites, so I'll just call this website 1. And for the description, just so I know that it's for this website, I'll put here, and I'll attach it to an existing origin. The origin connects to an endpoint, but I'll just choose the external resource that I selected. Okay, now I'm done. I've done everything. I just copy this URL and hit Save Changes. Okay, I don't need to do anything else. Now I copy this URL, the URL endpoint, copy this here. This is all mine. It only works on my website. And I'll go back to my settings here, advanced settings. I filtered for the word optimization, and I'm looking for this first one here, use content delivery network for images. And I'll go ahead and paste it there. So actually, I was doing explaining, but it really takes 30 seconds to about a minute to set up an account for your website. I'll click Save Changes now. Okay, and let's duplicate this page. Okay, great. So let's go back to this guy's picture here. So what's cool is in the code, it'll still show as a PNG, but we can see here, now we have the ImageKit URL. It says IK ImageKit webinar demo and whatever, and then the regular thing. So let's download this image now. We'll do save image as. Couple things here. It's saving it as a WebP image because that's what it's loading, WebP. Go ahead and save it. And look at the size difference, 5 kilobytes. I don't want to hover over it because the size goes away. 5 kilobytes compared to 72 kilobytes. So as we mentioned in the previous slides, smaller images, lighter pages help with page load time because like if you're on a cell phone and data resources or you have a slow internet connection like I think I have here today on the webinar, that data adds up and it can slow the web page down. So again, ImageKit is free. I think they give you 20 gigabytes per month, which I think is plenty for 95% of BD users. Very generous. And yeah, it'll serve your images in WebP format. So it'll cut the size by, I don't even know what percent that is, 72 to 5 to 72. And the page speed scores tools love it. And you don't need to do anything else. All you did was paste it into this advanced setting here. All right, let's continue here. So yeah, ImageKit for image delivery, definitely recommend that. This next one is also image recommended. If you guys aren't familiar with the Developer Hub section in your Brilliant Directories admin, there is an image settings section. And effectively what this does is if your members come to your site and they want to load a profile image and they upload something that's like 6,000 pixels wide, that's really too much. So what you can do in the image settings, you probably don't need to do this, but if you haven't visited it in a while or you have your site for a couple years now without coming back to this page, I would just come back here and make sure that you have reasonable sizes for the image settings. So this is going to be in the Developer Hub under Image Settings. And you really don't need to do anything here. If you're unsure or if you see like weird sizes or sizes that are like 8,000 or 6,000, it should never be that big. Feel free to click the Restore Default button as many times as you want. These are safe sizes for the default images. So if a member does come to your site and uploads a 6,000 pixel profile photo, it'll be scaled down proportionally to the max width and the max height that you've set here in your image settings, further enhancing the optimization and delivery of images so nobody is taking over your site or your web pages with egregiously large image sizes. So you just restore the defaults and then click Save Changes. Something easy we can all do. And lastly, a lot of us upload images to our media manager. And sometimes we do have those 6,000 pixel images, or we have images that we just cropped from Canva or from Photoshop. But a lot of those images that we save and upload carry a lot of metadata inside of them. The location tags, the date tags, and all that adds to the file size of the images. So there's a tool like Image Opt-in where if And we build a lot of pages on BD, like landing pages and things like that. It's not tons of images, but we're, again, mindful when we do add an image to the page to make sure it's not egregiously large, like 6,000 pixels. And I like to run it through a tool like ImageOptim. It's free. It just reduces all the metadata and shrinks the sizes significantly. Let's actually take an example. Let's take a screenshot of this page, print screen, and let's go to Photoshop and save the image and just compare it to what ImageOptim does compared to things. So here's Photoshop compared to what Photoshop saves the file size as. So this is a fairly large image. It's the entire screen, the slide that we were just looking at. And I'll save for web. And I'll save it as a JPEG. And I'll do very high. So that's, high or very high is normally what people do for JPEGs. So here it's 432 kilobytes. That's a really large file size for an image that I'm going to load on a page. Generally, for large images, you want to try to stay, if they're large images, under 200, or if you're using ImageKit, it'll convert it to a WebP format, and it's like less than 1/10 of the % of a JPEG image and things like that. So I'll go ahead and save this and save it. All right, and let's go to ImageOptim. I'll share the link with everyone. I think I've shared this in previous webinars. Really simple looking site, but I'll be honest, it does the job. There's probably other sites that can do this for you too. This one is free, and yeah, we use it's just a quick link in my toolbar browser. So let me say I want a high file, JPEG. All I have to do is browse, and here's the new image. The first one was 433. And all I have to do is do it, and it's already downloading the new image, so I don't really have to do anything. You could do multiple images at the same time, and it cut the image by half almost. This is 233. So we went from like 400 plus to 233, and it's going to be the same quality of image and everything like that. So ImageOptim is a great way if you're creating landing pages or if you're uploading stuff to your media manager. Be mindful. Try not to upload 10,000 pixel images. I don't know, those are for magazine prints and things like that. But for websites, images don't need to be more. Even for a full width screen, image doesn't need to be more than 2,000 pixels wide. And try to keep it under 200 kilobytes, if not even less, using tools like ImageKit. So 3 of these are settings: enable the CDN resources, enable the lazy load for the Google Maps, use ImageKit for your site. It's free, and it'll just increase the speed when loading images. Check your image settings in the Developer Hub. Make sure that you, if you need to, just restore the defaults. Those are safe to do as many times as you need to. And if you're working on landing pages or building out custom squeeze pages and things like that, ImageOptim is a great tool to run your larger images through before you upload them into the Media Manager.